Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live, talk radio without the static. Email your questions and comments to lynn at pghcitypaper.com. And now your host, Lynn Cullen.
Kinda, sorta. Hello there. I'm I'm coughing, sneezing, sniffling. Yay. I don't know what got me, but something did. Life itself. Oh man. So, how you doing? Welcome to whatever day it is. Why isn't the date up on my computer like it usually is? What day is it? August 21. Thank you. That's weird. The date has disappeared. August 21, yet another day in the insanity that we now inhabit. Ay. Okay, but before we get going, let me flag something for you that I saw in the New York Times today, and I'm excited about seeing. It's a documentary film, and it's the first movie that is produced by Barack and Michelle Obama's movie production company. Did you know they have one in conjunction with Netflix? And there is a review of it in today's New York Times, and I'm assuming that means that it will be available, if not right now, I didn't have a chance to look, on Netflix. The name of it is American Factory. And, excuse me while I get a Kleenex. And my Kleenex is gone. Oh, God. So, the review makes it sound really fascinating. It is a very, very good review. And it's about a factory in Ohio that used to be a General Motors plant. It's near Dayton, Ohio. Excuse me while I find here. Man, I'm just, general body rebellion going on here. So GM closed this factory in Ohio. Poor Ohio, man, there's so many factories. And the Chinese, decided to reopen the factory, but as a auto glass manufacturer. And this all happened recently in 2016. And it turns out that two extremely good documentarians lived right near this factory and had, in fact, documented the closing of the GM plant, I believe in 2009. And so when the Chinese decided to repurpose the plant and moved in, they got permission from them to continue documenting that transition. And that is what this documentary is about. And from the review, it sounds really good and not necessarily happy. It's and apparently they focus mostly on the workers who have been given this second chance, and by the cultural dissonance that occurs between the Chinese, who are used to Chinese workers, and the Americans. And I get this feeling that this doesn't end well. But it says here that the film American Factory is political without being self-servingly didactic or strident, connecting the socio-political dots intelligently. Apparently, the filmmakers don't villainize anyone, though a few of the people you see come awfully close to twirling waxed mustaches, like especially this reviewer points out an American manager who denigrates the American workers to his Chinese counterpart. And whatever, if that sounds of interest to you, for many reasons, it's certainly one of the issues that Americans are concerned about, our loss of manufacturing, the fact that the Chinese are coming in, and increasingly perhaps Americans will be working in Chinese-owned plants that used to be American-owned auto plants. I don't know. American Factory is the name of it. I think it must be on Netflix, just because. And it's also, as I said, the first production from Barack and Michelle Obama's company, which is called Higher Ground Productions. So. And I just want to pass this on for those of you who are, technically inclined, or who aren't, but, and because of that, you're at a disadvantage. I suspect that means most of us. But front page Wall Street Journal today headlined "The Truth About Faster Internet. It's Not Worth It." And I'm just going to tell you, I didn't read the whole article, but the Journal apparently actually did a rather long study in cahoots with Princeton and the University of Chicago, two rather, I think, reputable universities. And they had they wanted to see if faster internet really had an impact on the average user, and in fact, even beyond the average user. So they monitored 53 of the journalists who work for the Wall Street Journal, and I would imagine that they have probably use their computers a heck of a lot and are probably more adept than most. And what they found is that the 53 journalists, just using their computers on a daily basis, as they do, as most of us do, used only a fraction of their available bandwidth. And it says, and that includes when they're watching streaming services, including Netflix, Amazon Prime Video, YouTube. Even simultaneously, they didn't come close to using all their bandwidth. Also, the study showed that quality did not improve with higher speeds. I mean, somebody who's really picky about it might say, well, yes, it does. Look at that. That pixel is whatever. I don't know. Picture clarity, they say, was about the same. Videos did not launch any more quickly, which is one of the selling points. And they go on to say that, broadband providers like Comcast, AT&T, and the rest are now marketing pretty aggressively higher speeds for you to pay more for. 250, 500, even 1,000 megabits a second. And according to the study, just passing this on again, says here, for the typical household, the benefits of paying more than 100 megabits a second are marginal at best. So what that means is many of us are paying a premium for service that we do not need. And then they go into a whole long song and dance proving their point, their evidence. That, and I'll just pass that on if that helps anybody's pocketbook. I don't have a clue what I'm so out of it. I don't even know how many megabits per second I'm paying for on this thingamajig. I'm sorry if I'm sniffing into your ears. Milton, as usual, keeping me honest. Hang on here. Well, now this is weird. My computer is not letting me access anything. So the date's not there, and I can't make this full screen. And Milton, I can't get to. I see it's here, but I can't do it. Little Tony, I see you told me something, and I can't get it. I'm shutting it down and try to get it back in a bit. Yeah, I don't even think it's going to let me shut it down. Was that because I was talking trash about Comcast? Excuse me. Shit, it won't let me. Well, that's bizarre. Okay, I'll stop because, I mean, at some point, you don't want to hear it. I see your emails coming in, and I do see, just from the little bit I can see in the subject line, that you're telling me the Obamas did not produce this. They joined in, so they supported it monetarily after production. And it does premiere on Netflix, but I can't see when. Because I can't even shut the damn thing down. I can't open anything, and I can't. I swear, that's a weird coincidence. This has never happened. I don't know what that's about. Okay. I'll just move on. And I'm sorry, guys. I can't open your emails. You'll have to call if you need to. Okay, I do see, Tony, that you're asking a question, and it's a question that I ask too. It's about one of the outrageous utterances emanating from the vulgarian in the White House just yesterday. And this was when he essentially said that any Jew who votes for a Democrat is being disloyal. Now, I'm laughing now. I'm not laughing, but I don't want you to mistake my reaction. I heard that, and it didn't rise to the level of my blood ran cold, or that my blood boiled, because it was one or the other, and they were both sort of fighting. This is the most blatant anti-Semitic trope. There's none greater. It has dogged the Jew, the wandering Jew, for millennia. Jews were expelled from their own country thousands of years ago and have wandered ever since, establishing residency in various countries. And it is rare that they are at some point not scapegoated and said to be disloyal to whatever country they are attempting to live in, and that their loyalty is in fact to Israel. Now, this is a accusation that has been made since, the Romans. I mean, the idea of the Jew as this, this body that will not acclimate to the host and isn't allowed often to do so, ghettoized and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, the history of the Jew, there are very few places where the Jew has been allowed to mingle with the others. And the one country that the Jew has had one of the best experiences in has been the United States of America. So as a Jew myself, I am incredibly lucky to have been born into this nation. Not to say that anti-Semitism has been absent here, it certainly has not. But in my lifetime, I have never witnessed the use of me, the Jew, as a political wedge like the monstrosity in the White House is doing on a regular basis, and the Republican Party with him. And now out of his mouth, this accusation that if I exercise my right to vote, and it is not to vote for him, I'm being disloyal. Tony, I can tell from the subject line, his question is disloyal to whom? And that's a good point. Trump, as he often does in his ineloquence, leaves room for his aiders and abettors to argue, oh, he didn't mean disloyal to. I actually heard I think the talking point is that he was saying they were disloyal to themselves. Jesus. I am sorry. I am just the body I inhabit is not functioning well today. It's really, jeez, come on, give me a break. I got enough trouble here. This thing's deserted me. And so, I mean, I was really upset. I mean, I was incredibly upset. I saw it. I immediately went nuts. I tweeted, this is just blatant anti-Semitism. Any Jew who doesn't acknowledge that is willfully blind. Disloyal to whom? I don't know that it matters. When somebody puts the words Jew and disloyal in the same sentence, any Jew with a modicum of historical knowledge gets nervous. It's sort of baked in the blood and bone at this point. I also want to point out, it occurred to me that when I was thinking about this trope, that the Jews have been accused of this disloyalty for literally millennia. Check it out. That also puts the lie to the anti-Israel crowd, who seem to want people to believe that Jews somehow didn't belong in Israel until 1948, when the state was acknowledged. If that's the case, then how come the Romans were saying the Jews were disloyal? How come the Russians, how come Germans, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years ago were saying Jews were disloyal, that their loyalty was to Israel? This is a white nationalist trope. This is what got the Jews expelled from Spain in 1492, folks. I know in America, kids learn about 1492 because Columbus sailed the ocean blue, but also in 1492. Queen Isabella and the Inquisition were busy murdering Jews and forcing them to convert and or telling them to get the hell out. And again, this sense that they somehow didn't belong, even though they had been living there in relative peace for a long time. This president is an abomination. I don't really think, I mean, well, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I took it as disloyal. I took it as disloyal to him somehow because, you know, l'état c'est moi, is that what the state is me? He is such a narcissist that he does believe that he is the United States. He can't figure, the government is him. And so if you don't vote for him, you are disloyal to the United States. That was my first impulse. On further thought, it occurred to me that he was engaging in, you can't get the anti-Semitism out no matter who he's arguing a Jew is being disloyal to if they vote for a Democrat. Because the other possibility is saying that if you don't vote, and I now believe this is what, in his twisted mind, he was thinking, that if you don't vote for him or Republicans, you are voting against Israel. Consequently, the Jew is being disloyal to Israel. What that fails to note is I'm an American. I'm not a citizen of Israel. That's not my country. This is my country. And to suggest that then Jews would be disloyal to Israel suggests that that is where our primary allegiance is. I say primary because I have a very emotional attachment to Israel. My allegiance is to the United States of America, although I have to admit it's been sort of wobbly of late. I am a citizen of this country. I know a lot of Irish people who are good Americans and their allegiance is to America, but in their hearts they love Ireland. People, or Italy, right? A lot of Americans, we come from other places. It's not a dual loyalty, but it's an expression of our love of our history, of where we come from, no matter where that is. I don't see Irish people who care about Ireland being accused of dual loyalty, or Italians or anybody else. It's always only the Jew. This is the same president who said, I don't know when, maybe a year ago, he actually, talking to a Jewish audience or talking to Jews, called Netanyahu your prime minister. He was talking to Americans, and he said, your prime minister. And I remember saying, I don't have a friggin' prime minister. I'm an American. We don't have a prime minister. But if you're an anti-Semite, I guess Netanyahu is the prime minister of some Americans. Never mind, we didn't have a vote. So this is just the most recent, incredibly repulsive, hateful, and divisive statement. And the Jew is going to be bandied about quite a bit in this election cycle, trying to divide Democrats, to choose between Ilhan Omar and Trump. The whole thing is it just, you wouldn't think I'd still have this measure of disbelief, but I do. I do. That this is happening in America, this great country for the Jewish people. But why not? America should be an exception. I have no idea what time it is because my computer won't tell me what time it is either. Wait a minute. Oh, I see. So Ryan will be coming in. We've got some very interesting topics to talk about. But before he does, I want to squeeze in an obituary that was sent to me by Mary Frances. Thank you. And this was in the Washington Post. A guy named Ralph Whittington, it's our obit of the day, died at the age of 74. This is a guy who worked at the Library of Congress for 36 years, and he was in charge of the library's collection of telephone books. A quote from him, "I was in charge of every phone book in the freaking world," he said in an interview. He also was a crazed collector of rhythm and blues and doo-wop music, had over 5,000 early recordings. But the collection that he amassed that the obituary really goes into is he was believed to have amassed one of the world's largest collections of pornography. Ralph Whittington, ladies and gentlemen. He stored all this stuff in his house that he shared with his mom. And the thing is, his interest was not, according to the obit, was not prurient. It was academic. This is a guy who worked at the Library of Congress. He's somebody who appreciates the collection of historical information and the cataloging of such. And in fact, very few people had done that with pornography. He says in another quotation, because people would interview this guy because he was interesting, he says, "I'm not like some guy who says, I only read Playboy for the articles." I mean, he really cared. So on his business card, in this, he said his occupation, other than the phone books, was an erotic archivist. And here's an amazing quote from him that was from a article that the Post did about him in 2002. He says, "To be blunt, most people buy pornography for their own gratification, but I spend money on stuff I don't even like. I like high heels and big legs. But I collect everything." And then, but there's a caveat, except gay porn and child porn. Okay. More quotes from the deceased. "I have bawdy house coins from whorehouses in the 1860s. One coin says on it, 10 cents for looky, 25 cents for feely, 50 cents for dewy." He never owned a computer. I mean, for an archivist, that's mind-blowing. But What was his specialty? Telephone books. Okay. So, as a result, his expertise remained rooted in, the era before the computer. He sold most of his collection to the Museum of Sex, which is a professionally curated real museum in New York. It took 3 16-foot trucks hauling away 848 boxes that had been in his house, packed floor to ceiling, videotapes, pornographic videotapes next to cereal boxes in the kitchen, and sex tapes stacked in his mom's closet. His mom, by the way, in an interview on The Daily Show with Jon Stewart, said, it's something he loves. You see men his age going to bars or on dope, but he's home day and night, and that gives me peace of mind. I guess that's it. And the last words from Mr. Whitaker, now dead. He often was visited by scholars and people wanting to look at his amazing collection. And he says, when people come here, at least I don't bore them. They may leave shaking their heads, but they're not bored. So there you have it. And again, my thanks to Mary Frances for sending that obit, which escaped my attention, to me. And that's Ralph Edward Whittington, dead at the age of 74. Ryan, come on in. Here's a live guy.
Who knows for how long, though?
Yeah, well, that's true. No,
I make a lot of enemies.
So are you, while you're here,
Yeah.
my computer's not showing anything. It's not letting me access anything.
Oh, geez.
I can't even shut it down.
I don't
know
know anything about Apple's computers, honestly. I would probably just hold the button down and
That's what I'm doing.
it's not working.
No.
I have no idea. Sorry, I'm not a tech-savvy guy. Oh, there it goes. See?
See?
Wow,
You
millennials,
are a
millennials. We just-
savvy guy. You always ask someone young. And I don't even think he's as young as he looks.
I'm not.
How old are you?
32.
Yeah, you're as young as you. Okay, great. Thank you. I might actually be able to. I was doing this show blind.
Uh-oh.
Totally blind. Okay.
Hi, everyone.
Ryan Deto. What's your proper title?
Senior writer?
Senior writer, Pittsburgh City Paper.
Yeah, whatever that means.
I'm always bad at titles.
Yeah, reporter.
Well,
News reporter.
Yeah.
I go by many titles.
Okay. I want to tell everybody, maybe I did tell them a little bit, but I'm going to do it again with you here. Was it a week ago? It was like 2 weeks ago. Sally Wiggin was on the show.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw her in the office, yeah.
Yeah. After the show, we went over across the street and had us some Mexican food.
Oh, yeah.
At Baya's.
Yeah.
Baya's Tacos. And as we were leaving, I saw an ambulance go whizzing by. I saw cop cars, and we heard sirens, and I said, "Gee," and we left. Sally got into her car.
Yeah.
And I repaired to the bus stop.
Yep.
On the corner of
the super stop, as they call it.
the super stop. In front of Burlington Coat Factory.
Yeah.
Is that 6th?
Yeah,
and
6th and Smithfield. Mm-hmm.
And there was a huge crowd.
Yeah.
There were cop cars everywhere. There were 2 ambulances, one which left as I was coming up, and that was that horrible situation where this guy out of the blue stabbed and killed one woman.
Yes.
And
so it was at the bus. Who was at another bus stop on 6th
just around,
Street.
right,
right
just around the corner.
Yeah, kind of catty cornered.
Yeah. And stabbed another woman.
Yeah, passerby.
Okay. And then, so this gave more ammo to people who are really starting up. I'm seeing this more and more.
Yeah.
That somehow downtown Pittsburgh is getting more dangerous.
Yeah.
Now, because there have been some incidents where, like when there's a big event downtown,
Yep.
a gun has been discharged.
Yeah. I think there was a shooting on the 4th of July.
Okay, that's it, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Never mind all the pyrotechnics. There was,
Sure.
yeah, right. Those are okay. But
There we go.
it was Kevin McMahon who heads the, Pittsburgh Cultural Trust.
Yeah.
Who had what? He wrote a letter to
Wrote
the
a
mayor?
letter to the mayor that was leaked or given to the press that was then basically the head of the Cultural Trust was requesting that the mayor increase his police detail downtown as a way, basically saying that the neighborhood has seen a spike in crime and that it's become untenable, I guess, the way that it is in terms of public safety.
And McMahon's talking because he's saying the people coming to our
Cultural
theaters
trust
and
theaters,
stuff,
restaurants,
that he's
bars.
hearing from them that they're they're frightened, they're
I
scared,
guess, yeah.
they're afraid to come downtown.
He didn't quote anybody in the letter.
But that there was this sense that yes, I mean it's hurting business, right?
That's what he was claiming that
Right.
this was it. And then that story about the stabbing downtown really took off because there was some poor reporting on the part of some television stations that linked it to a possible hate crime of somebody who was stabbed because they were wearing a hijab, which is a Muslim headscarf, and a woman apparently was stabbed who was wearing a hijab, but it was almost certainly a passerby who just happened to be walking by at the time and then we don't actually know exactly what happened, how she got stabbed, how the knife hit her or anything like that. And I work downtown and there are a lot of people and women who are wearing hijabs downtown. We do have a refugee population. They spend time downtown. There are Muslims who wear hijabs. It's not. This is a lot of them spend time downtown. Downtown's a very active place. So and so that story really blew up. And so there is this sense out there that people think that downtown is extremely more dangerous than it's ever been, and it's been parroted by not only the Cultural Trust but really a lot of media articles. It's gotten a lot of media attention, basically. That what are we going to do about the danger downtown? The
increased danger downtown.
Yes, but
and you say you've actually looked at
so
the numbers, and
so
there is no increased danger downtown.
No, so for Zone 2, which includes downtown, there has actually been a 5% decrease in total crime since last year. So over the last year, from July this year compared to July, year, basically a year time span, there's been a total drop in crime, not only in the city at large by 5%, but in Zone 2, which includes downtown. There's been a drop in crime. So it's really interesting because the letter basically that was sent to the mayor and then was repeated in the press points out the July 4th shooting, which was a violent crime incident, but also talks about how there's just more panhandling and I guess more just altercations. But again, there's actually less because that's what the stats show in terms of that. For Zone 2 violent crime, there was a slight increase, but it was 4 incidents more compared to the year before.
Okay.
So we're talking about 4 incidents. Is that necessarily warranting
a change in police?
A huge change in policing. Usually we want our politicians, I think, to have not a reactionary, mindset, and we want them to get the data before they really think about making a big change in policing. There's been a lot of bad altercations with police downtown, especially in terms of youth. I've covered it in the past.
Right.
Right. There's been, you could argue that, and that wasn't Pittsburgh police, that was Port Authority police, but There's another thing. There's a lot of police downtown already, not just Pittsburgh.
Tons of them.
There's Port
They're
Authority
on-
police.
and they're
There's
on-
Allegheny County police.
They're on horses.
Yeah.
They're on bicycles. They're in cars.
Yes.
They're on foot. I'm telling you, they're everywhere.
So I really just want to encourage people to follow the Pittsburgh police account, look at their stats, really before we start jumping to this idea that everything is so much more dangerous. And also another thing about, I don't want to talk too much bad about Cultural Trust because I do think they do a lot of good for the city in terms of entertainment. But that was the strategy for downtown, was to invest in downtown, was to bring more restaurants and bars and theaters downtown to attract more people. When you attract more people, that means you might actually attract some youths that live in Northview Heights too. That means you might actually attract
Oh,
some
you mean
people.
they didn't say we only want to attract
White suburbanites from Munhall or whatever. Sorry, I'm not.
Not Munhall.
No, sorry. Munhall's great.
Upper St. Clair.
Upper St. Clair, sure. Upper St. Clair is
Don't-
nice
don't-
too.
okay. Whatever.
But anyway, like this idea that like that's what downtown is supposed to be now.
Yeah.
For decades, downtown was a ghost town. And a lot of people said it was more dangerous because there was no one out. It was scary. Like they didn't.
When you come downtown, I mean, at night when there are it's amazing now.
Yes.
There are people all over the place. And when I remember it was,
Yes.
you would see tumbleweeds blowing down Liberty Avenue. And that's not the case anymore. So this is a really harmful kind of a trope that is getting.
I absolutely think it's harmful, and I think people need to think about too. This is a national issue in terms of income inequality. This is a regional issue
that's
too.
right.
We have some of the worst income inequality in the nation, our Pittsburgh region, and so I think that has a play in it too. When you attract people downtown, this is a public place, so poor people are going to come down too.
It's a public place. But a lot of people move to the suburbs because they don't like these public places.
Sure.
It makes them uncomfortable.
Yes.
And I will admit, I don't like having to walk by the guys that
Sure, on
the
Smithfield.
woman over there and the two guys over here. And
It can make you uncomfortable.
It
I
can
think
make
it makes
you
everybody uncomfortable.
It makes you uncomfortable, and because you sometimes feel guilt, I do.
Yeah.
I sometimes give money, but I ain't going to give them every day.
Yeah.
They're there.
Yeah.
And I mean, I don't know.
I think it needs to take a harm reduction approach, and we've really started to do this with like drug use, with criminal justice. We've really started to think about harm reduction instead of punitive measures.
Right.
Adding more police is a punitive measure. It's basically telling all those kids, many of whom are black and brown, that like, hey, stop scaring the nice white people that
By
come
just walking
down.
around
Yeah.
and having a good time yourself.
And so,
yeah, it's just incredible. It's
I
just
think we
incredible.
need a community center. That's my pitch.
Downtown.
Yes. I think there's a lot of vacant storefronts on Smithfield, for example. I think the foundation
That's
community,
true.
the
That's
cultural
true.
trust community, the like big foundation community that have a lot of money, could buy one of these buildings, could turn it into a community center where kids can watch TV, where they can just hang out, relax, play board games, do homework, have security there, so so nothing's out of town. So many of these kids, and also homeless people or even just poor people, the de facto community centers downtown are McDonald's and
That's right.
are Burger King
That's
and
right.
are all these things, and they're hanging out there, and those places aren't equipped just to like have people just hang out all the time. They're equipped to give people hamburgers, and so like I think that's a solution, and I'm a little disappointed in the Cultural Trust for not even considering that, to be honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big story, and this was a story that I know you have been very aware of, and were first sort of like got me to pay attention to.
Oh, cool.
Has to do with a charitable foundation that is headquartered here. It became a huge story because the New York Times, the New York Times put it on the front page above the fold.
Yep.
With a big picture of a Pittsburgh woman, well, Ligonier.
Yeah.
Um,
Area woman.
yes. Richard Mellon Scaife's sister,
Yes.
Cordelia
Scaife May.
May Scaife.
Scaife May.
Scaife May.
Yeah.
That's right.
She married shortly and then divorced.
Right. And she was married to the DA here, Dugan.
That's right. Yeah.
Who got
Got in
either
trouble.
committed suicide or got
He did commit
offed.
suicide. Yeah.
It's
Oh, yeah.
no, that was a big
Yeah.
Right. But she was the heiress to huge billions of Mellon money.
Yeah.
And she lived a very sort of reclusive,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
was a very respected woman. Her obituary was full of, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Well, it turns out the New York Times article makes clear that she is probably the most responsible person for the rise of anti-immigrant fervor in this country.
The modern day anti-immigrant movement, which started in the late 70s,
was started with her money and her passion.
100%.
And funded by her foundation called the Colcom.
Foundation.
Do we know what that name means? Where does that come
I think
from?
it has something to do with overpopulation, which is their big
Oh,
thing.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Colcom Foundation. Now, the Colcom Foundation has given money to all kinds of folks around here in Pittsburgh.
Millions
Good.
to
I
the
mean,
Western Pennsylvania
Conservancy.
like Phipps, to downtown
weren't they-
partnership,
and weren't they sponsoring Santa's house
They were.
at
I wrote
the
about that.
Market Square Christmas
Yes, and then
festival?
some. Yeah, they were sponsoring that. Some people pointed that out to me and another journalist named Mike Elk, and both of us covered that idea. The immigrant community in Pittsburgh got wind of it and was pretty upset to learn about all this stuff, and they ended up taking the name off of the
Santa's house
and the stage that was there at downtown. But yes, they sponsor a ton of local stuff, but the vast majority of their funds go to the anti-immigrant movement, like
Well, she
a lot
helped
of these
found,
groups.
and a lot of these things that she helped found are said by the Southern Poverty Law Center, I suppose, has
Yes.
that designation as hate groups.
Yes, FAIR, the
FAIR.
Federation of American Immigration Reform and the Center for Immigration Studies are two of the largest benefactors of the Colcom Foundation and Cordelia Scaife May, and they are both deemed hate groups by the Southern Poverty Law Center. And if I'm just going to weigh in my own opinion, I agree with the Southern Poverty Law Center. The kind of ads, the kind of work that they do to stoke racism among the anti-immigrant movement, they literally just put out, you can go on our website and read about it, they just put out an ad against Connor Lamb calling him a radical for voting for a bill that would grant a path to citizenship for DACA recipients. DACA recipients are kids who...
Americans, they were born here.
No, they weren't born here.
Oh, no, they were brought here as children.
Young
That's right.
children across the border.
Right. And they've lived their lives
They've
here
lived
as
their whole
Americans.
lives,
They
and-
don't know from
and
Mexico
to be a
or
DACA
Guatemala.
recipient, you have to get an education, you have to get a job, you have to do all these things. They're basically what the vast majority of Americans believe that they should have a path to citizenship. 80%, 75% of Republicans believe that they should have it. And FAIR is frames that support as radical amnesty, quote unquote, all this other stuff. They stoke racism. There's no doubt about it. If you just follow their Twitter account, you'll see.
Yeah.
I mean,
And that is all thanks to, think of what the Scaifes.
Millions. $160 million.
Yeah. Like what the...
Just from her.
I remember her brother, Richard Mellon Scaife, who floated all the ideas of the Clintons as killers and all that kind of crapola, and
Still
of course
does.
founded the Tribune Review.
Mm-hmm.
I remember being shocked to find out that he was a big benefactor to Planned Parenthood. And I thought, what? I mean, what doesn't compute? Now, I get it.
The line.
Because what are they thinking? They want population. Okay,
So,
they
yeah.
don't want babies being born, and they're thinking of Planned Parenthood. They kill babies, I guess, right?
Yes.
I don't.
Yeah, Cordelia Scaife May, her initial advocacy was about the environment, and it was about the environment and overpopulation. I just want to
And
say,
they go together.
Yeah,
That's what they
yeah.
say.
I want to just start off saying overpopulation in America is not an issue. Just look at anything. We're not a dense country. We are not in danger of running out of water or in running out of resources. Don't believe that what they say. That is not an issue. And even if it was, advocate overpopulation is basically like advocating genocide. I just don't even understand what the end game
What does
is
it
saying.
mean? Yeah.
What's the end
what are we
game?
gonna do?
We're going to tell everyone to stop having babies? That is literally a dystopian novel. Like, let's think about this. We can manage our resources better. We could maybe not drive to work every day. Like, it's not that hard.
Well, we could do what China did, the one child thing.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's
Well,
also, I wouldn't even, yeah, but I mean, they lifted that eventually too.
I'm
But no,
kidding.
yes, no, I mean, we could do that, but also
We could just starve people. We could, we could make war.
Yeah.
We could,
or we
white
could just
people.
go after the 70% of environmental polluters that cause the vast majority of our pollution.
That's
just way too hard.
No,
so
we
let's just
can't.
tell people to stop letting immigrants in, I guess.
That's right. It's the immigrants.
Yeah, and so anyway, Scaife May, yes, she has this environmental mindset that she gave to Planned Parenthood and everything, but even in this New York Times report, that idea that she is a huge benefactor to Planned Parenthood is also a ruse, because her aide eventually sent a letter to these people that said, "Oh, this is actually not something I want to keep doing, because I don't actually care about this. It's all a cover, basically. All of this is a cover to basically fund the anti-immigrant movement. It's a cover to say, oh no, but I also care about this. I also care about that.
Let me ask you now, because Colcom still has $1 billion to give out.
I think they're worth $500 million.
Okay, $500 million.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
$500 million, and that's right here. That's right
downtown.
here. And now that we've all been informed, what does the Conservancy do?
This is honestly, it's a really
what do
hard
all
thing.
these good nonprofits who do really good work, who have been used as sort of a beard for
that's a good word.
what really has been going on with
Yeah.
Colcom? What do they do?
I don't know.
That's a huge loss of their.
And so some of my reporting, off, underneath, I haven't published any of this stuff yet, but just to talk in loose terms, the foundation community that gets the money they're kind of at a loss right now. They don't really know what to do, because to reject the money outright is basically just giving away the money.
It's giving, so she can give more to the anti-immigrant.
And they probably would, right?
And they would.
Probably would just
so
give
do
more
you
to
take
that.
this?
That's the hard thing, right? Because if you take it, you're complicit in being the beard, right? And so you're complicit in allowing Colcom to continue to say, no, we're an environmental organization. We're an environmental organization. So it's really tough,
now Planned
but also they need
Parenthood
that
is so
money.
in need of money right now.
Yeah, they need $400 million. I think we just wrote about this.
Yeah,
because of
that's
the Title
right.
IX
That's
thing.
right. They need money. And Colcom comes and says, we'll fund your defund camp. We will give you the money. What an awful, it's like a Sophie's Choice.
It is. And this is honestly, I've talked about this to some people too. It's what do we do? And it's basically tear down the system is the only thing that can really, but that takes a long time, right? This system of philanthropic giving where billionaires basically get to say what we fund and what we don't. And normally we would want that to be, in my opinion, we would want that to be democratized, and the people would be able to want to have a say, but that would actually mean growing the government, which apparently is such a terrible idea to people. And this idea, but at least we would have accountability on it. Yeah. We would be able to vote, and we would be able to have a say. We have no say on what Colcom does, literally none.
No.
And we're actually beholden to them because they do give to a lot of good causes.
You know, I was
even if
driving
majority
the
of
other
causes-
day, and I came on the most beautiful, you know, where the Conservancy plants those gorgeous, gorgeous things that pop up on a highway or on a city street.
Yeah.
And I think, God, is that beautiful? Because it's really in full bloom now. And then I thought, oh my God.
It's a conundrum for sure. And it's terrible. And I also want to mention too from the New York Times article that this stuff is not only anti-immigrant, it's white nationalists. Like these, the Cordelia
she's just
Scaife May
racist.
was
She's just
basically she evolved. Maybe she wasn't this way initially, but she clearly evolved into a racist, into a white nationalist. She was friends with tons of very influential early white nationalists, John Tanton being the most prominent of them, who he basically milked Cordelia Scaife May.
That's right.
And created this network. And he was an evil genius.
And a handsome charmer.
Yes.
And he just got all this money out. You know, I
And he
believe
created
they
multiple
also...
groups that made it seem like he had a coalition, but they were all his.
You want to hear something really appalling? I think they funded the Mr. Rogers statue.
They did.
Oh, God.
Which honestly kind of looks like poop. And I love Mr. Rogers. No disrespect to Mr. Rogers.
Listen,
We all love Mr.
truly
Rogers.
love him, but yeah, I don't.
But
know.
maybe, this is what is so difficult is there are so many things that they fund locally that are for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. But again, they give hundreds of million to the anti-immigrant movement. So that's where Pittsburgh really needs to, I don't know, have a deep think, I guess. But it's tough because what do? You just give up the money?
Do you cut off your nose to spite your face?
Yeah.
You know, it's a real...
It
I can
is.
see arguing on
But I will
all
say that-
sides. I don't know.
But I do think Pittsburgh, whatever decision that the city and the leaders come to, I do want to manipulate people here and think about the Tree of Life and think about the motivation that Robert Bowers had to carry out his shooting was the same exact stuff that Fair and Colcom and Cordelia Scaife May put out there, that we are under an invasion, and it's just not true. We have the lowest amount of undocumented immigrants of any region in the country. It is just a racist lie that is parroted and people believe it, and it can lead to very dangerous things. Both the Tree of Life. Well, no, but the El Paso mass shooter, the New Zealand mass shooter, specifically cited overpopulation and environmental degradation as a reason they went to go kill a bunch of black and brown people.
And all of that verbiage, which now permeates all of these globally, came
from her. From Cordelia Scaife May, from the Colcom Foundation. We probably wouldn't be in the same situation. Most Americans,
their heads would not have been poisoned.
We're at the point, Pew Research does polls on this, the majority of Americans think immigrants are good. We are one of the few countries in the world where we actually, the majority of us, believe that we want more immigrants. It's
well,
Europe
because
is
we
the
look
ones,
at our grandparents. I mean, it's our own
heritage.
stories.
Exactly. My family came from immigrants. Obviously, I'm white, so yes.
Me too.
And it's
Jesus.
And so it's
so we sort of own this here.
Yeah.
More than most in Pittsburgh.
And I have to say I'm very happy with the spread that New York Times article got. It was and I did a write up too, and that was one of our most read articles this last week too. So.
Well, I get the Times, and they always on page 3 show the most read articles of the day before. That was right at the top the next day.
Huge.
That was huge.
Yes.
So it's gotten now a international audience. But guys, that's our backyard.
Yeah, we got some tough questions ahead for sure.
Yeah. Damn. Well, we're not going to get to little Mr. Nutting and his...
that's okay. What a jerk. They stink, too, by the way, the Pirates. They can't even win a game.
I feel so sorry for the players.
It's not the,
I feel sorry for the players and the fans. Jesus.
They are
God.
so bad right now. It's
Man,
bad.
oh, God. You know. Stingy.
It's always next year.
Yeah. Oh, damn. All right. So, I think that's it. We're out of time. You fixed it.
Thank you. Yeah, I do what I can.
It's amazing. Hey, by the way, speaking of sports, tomorrow my guest will be. Someone thinks you're a bit over the top.
Oh, no shit.
Okay, well,
No,
yeah,
I'm not going to listen to that.
No, okay. Okay. What was I? Oh, my guest tomorrow for the hour will be Stan Savran. I bet you don't even know who he is.
I don't.
Jesus.
Sorry. Hey, I fixed your computer.
All
Give me a
right.
break.
He is a preeminent sports reporter here in Pittsburgh for 40-plus years. And he'll be joining me, unfortunately not in person, on the phone, but I know Stan, and man, that's going to be fun. And we won't just be talking sports.
Cool.
I know.
That's going to be fun.
I know.
I know.
You're
No.
such a cheerleader.